and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're gonna go right to public comment. If anybody wants to speak, your name, your address, and speak away.
George Hashem, 10 Austin's Way, Seabrook. I'm limited to 5 minutes, right? Just to make sure.
I mean, we'd like to be out of here in an hour tonight.
Sounds good.
It's a special meeting, I'd appreciate it.
So I have a lot of questions in my write-up, so what I'll ask is if you can answer them, if you want to answer them, please answer them after, just so I ensure I can get through. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. The Seabrook School Board will continue to communicate transparency with the SAU, teachers, staff, and community. This is a school board goal that was voted and agreed upon less than 3 months ago. I'd like to know why one applicant received notification that interviews were not going to be conducted and the other 3 applicants weren't. That was posted on social media by the applicant himself that he was told that they were not interviewing. Even more so, why were not all the board members aware that this was taking place and surprised on what was transpiring? I heard a board member say, I thought we were interviewing tonight. Even more so, the lack of transparency by members of the school board and total disregard for goals that you have set for yourselves. Over the summer, I came here to discuss the importance of process and procedure. I said everyone's entitled to their views and opinion, but without process, there's chaos, and I don't want chaos. I can't tell you the exact date, but that took place shortly after the preschool teacher interviews. Maria, I will acknowledge and appreciate that you followed the process by reaching out to the New Hampshire School Board Association, verifying what options you had for appointing a school board member, even if I feel it wasn't the most ethical approach. My issue is just 3 weeks before, you appointed a new member to the board and stated that she could not participate as a board member during that meeting because she was not sworn in. Yet, 3 weeks later, you disregarded that entire process and had Kelly come up and participate as a board member. She may not have had any voting rights in the meeting, but you did not realize this until 2 hours into the meeting when it was brought to your attention by Meredith. She should also have had the same amount of speaking time as the taxpayers during public comment and treated equally, not given more speaking time than the public. If I, or any taxpayer for that matter, can't trust the school board can follow simple protocol they followed just 3 weeks prior, how can we trust them to handle larger matters at hand? I was reviewing the meeting minutes from December 10th and saw Meredith stated the following. Dr. Nadeau stated a point of order that because Kelly Huber resigned and not been sworn in, her vote will not count for motions recorded during this meeting. It was noted that swearing in must be done by the school board district or Seabrook town clerk in order to participate as a member to vote. Shortly after, I also read the following. Non-public under RSA 91A3-2. Action A, roll call to enter non-public session under RSA 91A3. Principal Lennon and Principal Dow were not present during the non-public session and left the meeting at 6:30 p.m. In attendance for non-public was Michelle Knowles, Maria Brown, Jennifer Hubbard, and Kelly Huber. Dr. Nadeau, sorry if I'm saying your last name incorrectly, and the recording secretary were present for non-public. Board discussed personal matters. This was in the meeting notes. That was verbatim. So I ask you this. Why was an appointed school member who had not been sworn in yet sitting in a non-public meeting to discuss personnel matters? It's a violation of privacy, violation of procedure, and a violation of ethical practice in the code of conduct. If I was the union rep for whoever those personnel matters were for, I would investigate. During the town budget committee last week, it was discussed that during the Warrant article regarding withdrawal from the SAU was being reviewed by the school board's legal counsel. Under RSA 194C2, the school board is authorized to make grammatical changes and minor wording adjustments to an article, but for it to be reviewed by legal counsels sounds a lot more than minor changes. And this was stated by the school board budget committee representative last Thursday. I would like to know when the taxpayers get to see the revised language on that warrant article. More importantly, how much are all these legal views costing the taxpayers? The warrant article on last year's ballot stated that this study would cost the taxpayers $0. Does this hold true? Circling back to where this all started, the Seabrook School Board will continue to communicate transparency with the SAU, teachers, staff, and community. Well, give us the transparency we as a community deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No, that's it.
Is anybody responding or?
You
I
can,
can about the warrant article if you'd like.
yeah.
I really wasn't here, I was here at that meeting, but I wasn't here before that.
We didn't have any personnel conversations. It wasn't in regards to personnel.
The meeting notes said personnel, and then went back to public with retiree votes. So I'm not gonna
No,
assume,
let me
but I
think
will read
about it.
between the lines. The meeting notes said personnel matters.
That's
Maybe I'm
probably
wrong.
the retirements.
The retirements.
Okay,
Did you
doesn't
check?
matter. You weren't sworn in.
I'm
So
not
I
arguing that, I'm just,
Okay.
I don't recall that part, that's why I asked.
okay,
But I,
Oh, it was retired.
again,
Yes, retirement.
yeah, I didn't recall that, that's why.
Yeah, you have to do that by
Did we check
statute.
with, anybody about you joining the meeting?
So the confusion, no, because the
No.
confusion, can I be?
Yeah, I'm just
No,
asking
no.
because I wasn't there.
So the confusion was, and I actually have it in like 15 different screenshots on my phone, because I think I sent it to you.
I know you could be reappointed,
Yes.
but I didn't.
So if you read the school board, and you know what, actually, we have the emails from the school, New Hampshire, okay, hold on.
But just to answer his question, as of
Yeah, well,
you weren't sworn
I
in,
wasn't
but
sworn in,
because
but there was a reason that there
okay.
was confusion. Hold on one second, I'll show you.
Policy was the
Right.
confusion.
No, it was wrong, our policy was wrong, hold on. So. There's emails in here from New Hampshire School Board Association. And I personally reached out to him because there was some confusion, because our policy that was not added to the agenda, that was in the computer, that had not been changed since 2022. And the School Board Association even said that they haven't had a chance to send over the updates. Okay, so I sent to him attached to policy BBBC, can you clarify if this policy is valid? And it says that it was adopted on October 18th, 2004, last revised February 7th, 22, and last reviewed October of 21. And it says board member or district officer resignation, and it goes on to say, a citizen who files for seek election to the board or district should do so with further knowledge and appreciation for the investment in time, effort, and dedication. And it goes on to say about being a board member. Then it says A, tender resignation, and it tells how you submit your resignation. Board acknowledgement, then it tells how, it says whether submitted in writing or not, the board shall address the tendered resignation either at the meeting or at which tender is received or at the next public meeting of the board. There is no need for the board to formally approve the resignation, as a board may be not compelled to a member, and I remind you, this is still active on in the computer for all schools, not just us, to a member serve as a full term by way of a negative vote on a motion to accept. However, the board, through the chair or presiding officer, should acknowledge the attended resignation at the meeting and assure that the same reflected in the minutes. Effective date, the letter statement of resignation should indicate when the resignation will be in effect. If the rendered resignation does not state a date, then the letter shall be deemed to express an intent that the resignation will take effect immediately. Also pursuant to 652.12, some vacancies, example, moving out of the district conviction of a felony or while in office arise by operation or law upon a specific occurrence and therefore are effective upon the occasion of the occurrence. D, withdrawal of the resignation. A tendered resignation, whether made in writing or orally, may not be withdrawn after the board's acknowledgement without the consent of the majority of the remaining board members upon vote taken in a public meeting prior to a successor being approved. So, as long as there was no one to fill my seat, my rescinding of my resignation could be accepted as long as the board voted to let me rescind it as long as no one else took my seat. And then it says copies to the district, the superintendent shall, as soon as practical, assurance that the district court is provided with a copy. So I reached out to the school board association because we assumed that was the policy in place when I sat in the audience. And that's the God's honest truth, because I would have never sat up at that table not knowing that I had to be sworn back in, because according to that, I would still hold the same position. It says right here.
I heard it, but nowhere did it say that nowhere did it mention anything about an oath. When you leave a seat, just
No,
like, when you resign and you leave a seat, like you were here the next meeting and you were able to attend public comment and give your opinion as a taxpayer and not a board member,
Yep.
your oath is lifted.
Nope.
You now, yes, you haven't read anything related to the oath, so please
I
show
went to
me
the
where
town
the
hall.
oath carries over. I've not seen anything where somebody steps down and then comes back and their oath automatically starts
So
again.
instead of going back and forth, can you just hold off, let her finish,
Yes,
and then if
absolutely.
anybody else wants to answer?
So
go
there
ahead.
was, so how it all came about was that I went to the town clerk's office and I said to her, Shayna, and this is public so she can hear this, she has no problem. I said, Shayna, I need you to swear me in. And she said, I thought you rescinded your resignation. I said, I did. She said, well, then you don't need to be sworn in because your resignation, your seat never actually became vacant because you rescinded the resignation. So the date that you sworn in still carries over. So I said, well, and I took the clip, which I also sent the same clip to the New Hampshire School Board Association, and I sent it to her that Meredith had said, and I said, there's some confusion, because I take clips of meetings all the time, and she watched it, and she said, I'm a little confused because, and she showed me the paper that she fills out. The paper that she fills out asks for a new date of seat, but it also states that if it has been rescinded, that the date does not start over. So she said to me, you want to find out more clarity, because she and I sat on the phone. Well, she called and then they were gonna call us back, and like say 3 or 4 times she tried to call. And they referred us to legal counsel because the school board's not part of the municipality association. So I sent an email to the New Hampshire School Board Association because of the policy we had in place. And the policies, when they're no longer in place and there's a court order, the New Hampshire School Board Association usually sends over an updated policy to the SAU, and that's when it comes forward to us. So I sent it to him, and he says, hello Kelly, your policy was drafted before the recent court case. Well provided, New Hampshire School Board Association is going to update our sample policy on resignations in line with the court case. While the court case might not be directly on point with your scenario, we believe the logic, and this was on the 13th of December, because before that, I read the policy that we had online. And it says, while the court case may not be in direct point of your scenario, we believe the logic in the case is sound. If the board disagrees with interpretation of the court case or statutes, we recommend an opinion from local counsel, which we didn't do because we trust what he said at that. And I said, I apologize. Can you just recap the court case to me, because I didn't have that. He goes, I said, does this mean I'm in the same position until my term expires, or am I filling the seat only till March? I just want to make sure I have clarification so there's no issues. Thank you for your help, Kelly. He goes, Kelly has attached the email to a PDF of an email. It contains our interpretation of various laws and recent court cases relative to the resignations and appointments. Again, if the Seabrook School Board disagrees with the New Hampshire School Board Association interpretation, we are happy to defer the opinion to your private legal counsel.
Where do they talk about oaths? Where do they talk about oath?
It doesn't say anything.
Okay,
It doesn't
so
say
I will make a follow-up comment.
Yep,
The-
and I will ask Shanna right now in an
the-
email to please clarify that.
The motion was not to rescind your resignation. The motion was to appoint you as a school board member
Yeah, I can't control that.
because Maria, and I'm quoting her word for word, she said, I spoke to the New Hampshire School Board Association and there were 3 options. Appoint a person, leave the seat vacant, or interview the candidates.
Exactly.
But, no,
Okay.
Please, I'm sorry, and I'll finish and
No,
I'll
you're
let you
fine, I
know,
don't
but
have anything else to say.
and she said that they want to appoint you, not rescind your resignation, appoint you. Then the motion was to appoint you. Now, 3 weeks ago, we appointed Michelle,
Almost
and that was through the interview process. So what's the difference? You appointed somebody, you did not rescind a resignation. I told you months ago, I'm
You
about
cannot
process,
rescind
I'm
a
about
resignation.
process, Maria.
Yeah.
So you made the motion
Yeah.
to appoint,
Yeah.
because you said you can't rescind.
Exactly what the New Hampshire School Board Association tells
So
us
if
we
you
can.
appoint, I do not see that any different, and you can please find out, because no attorney will touch municipal law for some reason unless they're representing the municipality. But if you appointed somebody 3 weeks ago, regardless of whether Patrick's seat was up in March or not, that seat would be up in March, and and she had to be sworn in. And I would assume that her being appointed by your motion, that it would be being sworn in again, and the seat would be up in March. Now, although that is one of my items that I do want an answer to, I'm more concerned about not being sworn in and in non-public, regardless of what it was. You could have been talking about what you were ordering for dinner tomorrow, I don't care. Non-public is non-public, and if you're not sworn in, you should not be in there. I've signed
Well,
countless
you shouldn't be recording it
confidentiality
either,
agreements.
But that doesn't seem to be an issue
Yeah.
either.
I'm sorry?
You shouldn't be recording it either, but that doesn't seem to be an issue.
Ashley Meredith, I think, brought that up during the meeting, didn't you? About the swearing in. We look toward to be honest with you, for legal things, when we're in the middle of a meeting, we're not lawyers. So we look for, that help with our SAU office to butt in and say, hey, you gotta do this, and they did. It just was well on and when late, and what do you do with it? So I'm gonna tell you right now, everything that was done through the New Hampshire School Board Association. There are emails, there is a paper trail, and as far as the end date, we're still working on that. I believe the thing is to be determined, because there's state law that was also attached to that, and they were very conflicting. So our policy was simple, until you look at everything else. So they just, and I will bring up too, so Hampton, for instance, just appointed a selectman a month ago, because I tried to look at all different avenues to make sure we were doing what we needed to do. And they simply did not even put it out there for anybody to come forward or anything. They took a person that was a selectman before and appointed him right at the meeting.
Yeah.
We tried to do what best we could do to make the process go as well as we could. And as far as notification, everybody was notified, because I was worried they had only gotten Rhonda's thank you for applying with the post, and I think it was Sunday morning, I sent out, hey, a reminder, that this is on the agenda. I did not know what the board was gonna choose to do, because that is not my decision to make. So until we come together and decide what are we gonna do, what motions, what is everybody gonna do at that board meeting, we really didn't know what the process was gonna be, which is why I shared the 3 things we could have done. And for not 1 minute do I take back my motion, because I do believe we appointed the most qualified person sitting on the left of me and on the right of me. And that's the least I'm gonna say about it for now.
You were not transparent about it, Maria.
I
You came
was.
to the meeting and
I
you made the
was.
motion immediately. You did not have an open discussion about it. I think as a board chair, if you wanna be transparent and open and do the
And I
best
am.
possible decision, you have a discussion.
Yep, and I did.
Michelle abstained her vote and said, I thought we were interviewing tonight. So it sounds like there wasn't communication, there was a lack of transparency. If you notified the interviewers, besides Paul Knowles, that you were not interviewing that night,
Nobody
Then-
got notified they were not interviewing that night.
he
Everybody got
stated
the
it himself
same
in writing.
email.
I knew they weren't interviewing.
Well, it was nothing, I sent things out to everybody. It's
I'm just sharing.
And as far
And
as
you guys all went to high
Michelle-
school together, I don't know what the deal is,
and
but
as
you
far
know,
as
he
Michelle
knows, no one else
abstaining,
knows.
She
We all know
can,
each other, I don't know how.
Paul's a lot older than me, I didn't go to school with him.
she can abstain, that is her right.
Yep.
She also could have made a motion to do interviews. Anybody can make motions on the floor.
Yep.
We all have choices sitting here. There is no either or, it's us as a team. And if somebody wanted to say, well, I'm gonna put this motion out too, you can do that. Nobody chose to do that.
Okay.
So we did the best we could do with what we had, George, and we will be clarifying hopefully the end date. soon.
With your expectation to appoint that day, because
It's done.
it was an expectation as the letter of rescindment was in before the meeting, you should have had all these legal questions settled before you made the appointment. And the oath being sworn in, all that transparency should have been clarified before she sat at the table last week. And that, regardless of your decision-making, is the bigger issue at hand for me. Because I asked you, without process, there's chaos, and whatever this could transpire to, I don't know, but you're not following protocol. And there's a bigger issue there,
Here, we hear you,
okay?
because we're all in this together, right? We're all a team.
I'm looking at, as the chairperson,
can't
who is the
just-
spokesperson, as the spokesperson, who is the chair, and said you're the voice, I've heard you say that before, I'm looking at you as the person who made the motion, and as a board chair, you wanna be the chair, just like if you wanna be the boss, your expectations are higher of you. You are the chair, you are not just a board member. So my expectations of you will be higher.
Well, I thank you for that, but I want you to know all I'm here to do is keep control of the meeting, and the board members are all equal. They can do the same thing I'm doing in this room tonight. So you might wanna read up what a chair actually does.
And
I have
last,
nothing more than they do.
my last comment would be earlier in the summer, after my comments to the interview process, you stated that you'll be working hard to do better, and that regarding process and how, not just interviews, overall. This proves to me you haven't shown yourself doing better.
We've
Thank
been
you.
doing wonderful and working hard, George, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
that's my opinion. Okay, anybody else? Come on up. Okay, so with that said, anybody else have anything they wanna say or answer to?
No, I'm not ignoring you, I'm just trying to find something on here.
Lacey,
I didn't get your attachment,
for what, dear?
BBBC, what we were just talking about,
The attachment for the.
from the
it's
New Hampshire School Boards, there's
Yes.
no attachment
For the
in the email that you sent.
okay, I'll relook at it for you. I sent a couple different ones because I wanted everybody to be,
Yeah, I've been trying, I don't think I missed it, but
okay.
you never know.
And anybody, just so the board knows too, it's a free service, and any one of us can feel free at any time, if you have a question, to contact them, and they have an attorney, and they have, they're at Christina, and they are very, very good about getting back to you. They actually were on the phone with me and helpful, and it's, of course, we pay for our membership, but we don't pay hourly fees. So, anybody have any other answers or anything they wanna say? Okay. So with that said, we will move on to, we'll keep the public comment open for a few more minutes. And, the budget. We'll move on to budget review. The budget has been approved and forwarded to the budget committee, who raised a lot of good questions. The committee seemed really, when it come to finances, I was like, wow. They were amazing. I watched the meeting to see, and then the selectmen had another meeting, too, and spoke about it, and there was a lot of things that I didn't know as a board member. So I'm gonna tell you, I learned a lot watching that as well. If anybody has any questions or anything about the budget, we can, bring it up now.
Did the budget
I
committee
already
vote on it?
thought,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
That's what I thought.
They did mention,
Unanimously approved.
they did.
and they did mention that if there's anyone that feels concerned after the selectmen met with the SU 21, or if there was anything after the fact, after the meeting, that we felt was concerning as a board, that we could revisit it, and they could always, and take a new vote, and always have the budget. Crystal Clay said there could always be a special meeting called.
but we spent like
Yeah.
8 hours doing this budget, so what can we
What is the
possibly,
concern?
like, yeah,
So my concern, and obviously I wasn't part of the process, and I take responsibility for that, but during the time that I was out and having the time to look over things without feeling overwhelmed because of the pressure of feeling like you have to do everything in 1 month, there was a lot of things that I noticed that are extremely concerning. It's concerning that, which I just read the email that went to the selectmen, that I've been on this board for almost 5 years, and we've been told 5 years in a row that we have never ever received that we do not have funding that we can use from the McKinney-Vento Act. Yes, we did. I have the video where Maria said, "Are you telling me, Meredith, the McKinney-Vento Act is taxpayers' responsibility and that we get no funding for that?" And you said yes. Yet we get Title I funds for that, and that didn't come out until the meeting that Matt had with the with the selectmen the other day.
Disagree, but okay.
When did you ever tell us that we could use it for the McKinney-Vento Act?
I-
When did you ever say we got?
I would need to look back to find dates, but I remember having a conversation and saying we have a small portion that is set aside in Title I to support McKinney-Vento. There's
You
a
never
homeless
did.
set aside. Well,
You
again,
never
we
did
can
because it
disagree.
blew our mind, and me and Michelle Perkins, who used to be on the board, made a phone call, and I have that email too, but I have to get back into my emails, and we questioned you about a grant that one kind of applied for, and they got $80,000 a year for 3 years. They used Seabrook as co-applicants. They used
The whole region.
They used
includes
Seabrook as
Hampton.
co-applicants. They got $80,000 a year for 3 years. When I spoke to the woman, I asked her how much was allocated to Seabrook. She said because Wanacunnet was the applicant, then they would be the one to disperse the funds. You said they got that we would have gotten gift cards, and that the other was for liaison, not anything else. It was for Wanacunnet. But Matt said the other day that we got ESSA funds and grants from the McKinney Act, yet taxpayers have been paying for that transportation since I've started here.
I think you're conflating a couple of different things, but I'd be more than happy to trace back through all of that information for you. There are some different things. There was a competitive homeless grant that is
Yeah.
regional, and then there were specific additional funds that were provided as a result of ESSER. That were for homeless specifically. There was a limit on what could be used for transportation, and there's always been McKinney-Vento eligibility under Title I. That predates my arrival here. There's been a homeless set aside going back for decades, that there's a portion of funds. You use the majority of your Title I funds to support intervention and supports for students, and that hasn't changed, and you've used typically the minimum for transportation and or homeless assistance set aside. But I do remember specifically mentioning that, and I'm more than happy to provide that information.
You
Can
don't
I
have
just
to.
share in with
Right.
Kelly,
Because
really
you never
quick,
did.
that I personally,
Never.
Matt was sitting right where Michelle is. And I'm gonna tell you, during the review, I was shocked, and I don't know if Jen remembers it or not, and I said, you mean that transportation money from the McKinney-Vento, cause there was some big
Yes.
tickets coming in.
I was sitting over there.
And I said, are you telling me that comes out of the budget and it's not, federal funded? And you said, yes, and I said, oh, wow. And I turned to Jen and said, did you know that? And she's like, I didn't know that either,
But
and
then-
that was like a shock.
But I also asked right after that, because he gave us a spreadsheet and a breakdown of McKinney-Vento, and I said, it's not, we don't pay the whole bit because the
Yeah, the
the
schools contribute.
schools contribute,
Right.
and I believe it was like $39,000, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but they contribute almost half.
Right, they contribute, but that's not the funding I'm talking about. And we've never actually, we've actually never seen in the revenue where it says McKinney, where they take off the amount that they contribute. But my point is that we've asked if there was any grants or any funding, not, because contributions, that's basically, they're just paying their own portion. But as far as grants or funding that we receive for the homeless students, we've been told no. No, I will find it, and at least 2 or 3 times in the meetings last year, this year, and the years before, and I will bring in other past board members if I need to. Because I asked one last night, and she said, what? I go, yeah, it's in Title I funding. She's like, since when?
So-
It's not,
So McKinney-Vento, just to clarify, is basically covered by out-of-district schools that their children are coming
There's a
from.
cost share.
Yes, Title I funding,
A small portion.
small
has been
portion,
set
and
aside.
then what was the other one that you had mentioned?
There were ESSER funds
ESSER
that were
funds, but those are no
available.
longer available, right?
so
Those
we
are
never knew we could
COVID.
use those
And
either.
those
Okay.
were not eligible for transportation.
Okay.
Those were for other supports, and then there was, Kelly also referenced a grant that Winnicott receives.
Mhm.
Okay, and was that just, given to us, or a portion was given to us as well as the other districts, or was that just for Winnicott?
So it's a regional grant.
Okay.
So Winnicott, and I've explained this before, and I'm happy to provide the detail, I've shared that grant application in the past. But Winnicott serves as the state homeless education liaison.
Okay.
Their social worker hosts a conference, provides information and training for all of the districts. And a portion of that grant under the competitive application that Winnicott applied for also funded their early childhood coordinator, because that position is responsible for outreach for our young
Okay.
children of homeless families.
And I think on that note, I'm just gonna share a little bit of how. So just one invoice that came into me was $7,000 for a month, I think. And then the other school paid $7,000. So I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Those amounts coming across, so I needed to ask more questions. And I still feel, and I said it to Matt, help me with this, because I don't know a lot about McKinney-Vento, so I went on and did my research, and my question was, so if we give Tim the McKinney-Vento for last year, do we then go back and do we relook and look at what is the meaning, what is the criteria, what was the application, are they still in that same position they were in a year ago? Cause we wanna help people, kids, we wanna, keep them in school and help them, but we also don't want somebody living in another district in a beautiful home, just say, and they have a permanent house now, and it's not a couch surf or anything, and then have Seabrook still footing that amount of money, especially now knowing it comes out of the budget. So I had asked, do we look at that often from the SAU perspective? And I don't think we really ever touch
So
base
we
back
answered
on
that, the answer was yes, and it's done at the building level. The SAU isn't checking addresses for residents of each and every community, that happens at the building level.
Okay. So the principals are responsible for that.
It was something really our social worker did for the most part for us
Oh,
last
that's
year.
right, yeah.
But it does fall on the principals now.
Okay, I remember you saying that about the social worker piece.
Now, on the early childhood education that you said was for Winnicott, was it for Winnicott or was it for Seabrook?
It's for all SAU 21
Oh.
and Hampton, it's a shared position,
Why Hampton?
because it's a regional grant, it's not
Through
an SAU
Winnicott,
21 grant.
and they go to
Winnicott
Winnicott, so-
Winnicott is the fiscal agent, but it's a regional grant.
The woman specifically told me that Seabrook and Seabrook Middle School were the co-applicants. She said it was just those three schools, and matter of fact, she said I would recommend the next time you guys apply, that you apply so that the money goes directly to you. That's exactly what she said to me.
Can
2
we
years
do that?
ago. Well, she was,
And we responded to that 2 years ago and
Yeah,
shared
and I
the
have the email.
information. at
Can we
that
do
time.
that, just so we
You
apply
can,
for
you'll
the
get a much
district?
smaller pool of funds. The statewide grant, it's distributed in 3 different ways. There's a pooled regional grant that you can apply for, which is a larger sum of money, and then at the maximum I think you could get as an individual district applying would be $10,000.
Okay.
so Meredith, I guess my concern is that when we are bringing up the fact that we pay so much money for that transportation, and that we wanna know, how do we control that? You have never said, well, just keep in mind that you do receive Title I funding for a small portion of that, you could always use that. You never, especially when we've said, why do you laugh every time I say something?
I'm waiting to respond
Okay,
and you're
that's
cutting
fine.
me off, so I'm happy to wait.
You have never said we get funding from the McKinney-Vento Act, never.
Again, we can disagree on that, however, you don't get reimbursed, strictly speaking, for that transportation. You can set aside funds in Title I, but it means you're withdrawing funds from other portions of your budget or reducing the amount of services and intervention support you provide. It's one or the other. We're still responsible for those costs, however you choose to fund it.
But where it's a grant, you can't just use it for
No.
anything.
No.
Like,
Correct.
All right,
Title I is for intervention and supports for children, and there is a requirement that a small portion of that be set aside to support homeless students. It's not specifically allocated for transportation, though you can use a portion for that, and we have done that historically.
so,
And our Title I funds have been decreasing, so we've actually been cutting our intervention support, so that's been a priority for us, is to fund those those salaries for our interventionists and tutors.
And they're
As
decreasing
opposed to,
because of the state?
Yes.
so I mean, if we want, I mean, it's, you're just moving money around, so I mean, we could use those funds, so we could not have an interventionist and tutor and then move it into the transportation account, but then we're losing valuable
Transportation's not gonna help
students,
educate kids.
impactful, you know, activities.
So, if nobody wants to address the budget, that's fine, I mean, I'm only one person, I wasn't here, and that's my fault, I'm not so sure that if I was here, that it would've made a difference. What I will say is that we have employees in the school that make very little money, some of them, if they can't, they have second jobs. I also heard in the budget committee meeting and with the selectmen that the school board was basically blamed for not addressing the 3.5 increase. I wasn't so concerned about the increase with administrators in the school because they're working with the students directly with education, but I was increased with the SAU. Basically, they have their step raise plus a 3.5 increase. And I was always under the assumption that once the joint board, including our board, who wasn't there, Lacey was, that once they make the vote, that Seabrook has no say over their increase. But Matt said in the meeting that the school board could always decrease that. That doesn't mean they don't have to on their level accept that. And that also when it comes time to a default budget, those are also things we could cut, which last year we were told we couldn't. So I think it's important to mention,
I wanna be very clear,
yep,
it's the Seabrook board has the
Yeah.
discretion to adjust the cost of living adjustment for Seabrook employees. You do
Not the
not have,
SAU.
you do not have the ability to change the SAU cost of
Joint
living
Yes,
adjustment.
that was what was
It's-
confusing at that
That's
meeting, I was
that's
like,
at the-
what?
That's at the joint board
When you said
level,
they
so
could,
it's
I'm
very-
like, I don't think,
So I was
didn't
just-
know that.
So I'm sorry if there's a confusion there,
Yeah,
but it's
that was a
just
big
the
one.
Seabrook employees.
Do you mind if I ask you a question, Matt? Is that percentage in your contract? I know most contracts will lay out a step
No,
and a COLA, percentage.
no, so that's determined on an annual
That's on
basis
the
by
discretion
the
of
joint
the
board.
joint board?
Yep.
Okay.
Above and beyond.
so I mean, this is honestly, I'm being honest, this has nothing to do with calling names out. But I think it's important that if we just got out of a tough all budget and we're looking at increases here, and I think that if you look at the difference between the budget for SAU 21 and 24, 25, and 25 and 26, the presentation is a little misleading because it looks like their budget was cut, or should I say decreased. But again, I had to point it out to the budget committee because they weren't aware of this because the information they got was very limited, that there was a $100,000 fund balance that was taken off of an account and put towards the SAU 21. So in fact, if they didn't do that, we would be paying $28,000 more towards the salaries over there, well, towards the SAU budget versus a decrease. And we actually had one employee who's been there for 5 years leave, and it still was more after taking the $100,000. So I think it's important to mention that for administration at the SAU, we have a salary that has gone from $189,703 to $196,988, a difference of $7,200. We have another one that's gone from $166 to $289 to $167,39, which is only a difference of $750, and I'll explain why that took place. And I'm wondering if that contract raise hasn't come into effect yet for the staff. We had a curriculum coordinator who was an assistant superintendent who left after 5 years of $160,000 to a new position that came in that wasn't an assistant superintendent, but that position was $142,426. And then another position which was $164,347 that went up to only, was a difference of, I think it was $163. But because there was 2 salaries in there that only decreased one year to the next because of the 3.5 or 750. It looks like contributions went from, one person went from $7,000 to $9,677. Another employee went from $4,090 to $8,179 for contributions. And then the new employee that took over from the old employee was only $481 less, and hers was $3,474. And then we had another administrator at the SAU who got a contribution that went from $4,000 to $8,045. So at the SAU just administration, there's an increase of $11,270. And their travel went from $1,500 to $2,250 a year. So as much as it sounds like I'm just picking this apart, I think it needs to be brought out, because if you look at the budget, it looks like it decreased, yet the numbers show it extremely increased. Yet none of that was discussed in the meetings at this level.
No,
But were they
the
discussed at joint board?
It was
They
discussed,
were.
it was
They
discussed,
were.
because I made the motion at joint board
Yeah.
to take the 100,000
Right.
to,
So you have to
because
go to
we
the
had
joint board meeting.
over 300,000, in the unreserved balance. So I made the motion to take the 100,000, that way the tax burden would be less on the taxpayer. It does look like it's less because we use the unreserved fund, but I thought $100,000 was a feasible, because there are some members of the joint board that wanted to take out more money. And I didn't think that, I thought it was inappropriate to do that, because we have a roof project at the SAU level, and if Seabrook did withdraw, Seabrook's gonna take a portion of that money as well, which would leave the SAU with less money for water heaters, roof, things that they use this unreserved balance for. So I made the motion myself at the meeting, after listening to Matt's presentation and looking at the numbers, that $100,000 was there available to ease the tax burden for everybody.
But did
for
you
the
know that these
SAU.
raises were gonna, did you really believe, did you look at these?
Step raises and COLA raises are normal.
COLA is not, like our town, we don't get COLA raises of 3.5.
At one point you guys did, I was in that union, and there was a 3% COLA
Most of the
raise.
contracts
Most of the contracts have
There were
raises.
step
get a
Yeah,
raise.
no, there's step raises, and then if you look in the in the union contracts, because I'm on my negotiation team, and we fight hard for COLA raises. My union, we haven't got a COLA raise for 5 years because they won't vote it in, so we are just at like 20-cent step raises, but those are normal for people to negotiate. Usually 3% is a normal COLA raise,
But this doesn't
and
have
it's
to be
set by
voted
the
in.
federal government,
This doesn't have to be voted in, they get it no matter what.
but it's a part of their budget though. Right, if
but
I had the option, I would get it no matter what too, I
Right.
wouldn't want it voted
The
in.
teachers have to, they only get their raises if it's voted in. The CESPA only gets their raises if it's voted in.
Right, that's
You know what?
And the EAs.
how it
We're-
works. I mean,
We're on this
me
board.
as an elected official, I have to ask for mine.
Oh, I know.
I don't automatically.
But we're voted
get a
in
raise.
to make sure that we're saving the taxpayers' money.
I mean, next year we
Where-
could go to the joint board and ask for, if they ask for a COLA that's 3.5%, we can say, hey, for the last 5 years, they've gotten this 3.5%, and inflation has hopefully at a
Leveled.
standstill, and it's leveled out, so maybe this year they don't get 3%, we negotiate a 1% or a 2%. I mean, I get what you're saying, because 3% seems minuscule, but
not when you make that much money.
but when you add up the dollars, it's, you know, it's shocking, but that was I was at the joint board meeting, and that's basically what I voted on, and, yeah.
Okay, well,
So-
the taxpayers clearly voted to withdraw from the SAU, or do the study, should I say, and the cost was part of the problem. Yet we're sitting here and we're approving the cost to increase all the more, yet we haven't even seen what the taxpayers wanna do yet. So the taxpayers technically, why are they gonna support us to withdraw from the SAU when we're basically supporting the increase to go up this high? I mean, how can they take the school board's opinion of wanting to withdraw when the school board is part of the reason that these increases are being approved? Like, we're basically saying, you know, we're not happy with the services that we do, you know, for the ones who have said that, and I'm not sure how Michelle feels, but the 4 of us have all said very clear that we support withdrawing. and that we don't feel like we're getting the services we need, yet we're all sitting here debating on whether or not we should approve this kind of money for services we don't feel that are benefiting our town. I also think that
But then again, as a school board, you have to go to the joint board meetings. I've been
Michelle, the
there.
last joint board meeting, I was at a budget committee meeting for the school, and I was accused of skipping out on a meeting, so.
I know, but there was two there, there's a 5-member board.
Right, but I'm just saying, we've all missed meetings. And there's also things at the joint board, and no disrespect, that you are not aware of, that the first meeting we went to, that is very uncomfortable. So I'm not making excuses, because if you
Because of
look at the past,
withdrawal.
I've been to a lot of the joint board
But if
meetings
they're
for
uncomfortable,
the
then,
last 5 years.
I mean, that's what everything's uncomfortable.
That's why I wanna withdraw, because
It's not easy
I've
to
gone into a
be on
joint
the
board
school
meeting.
board, you know, I mean, we all
No, I
know.
know,
So
but I've been at
if
joint
it's
board
uncomfortable-
meetings where we've had 3 or 4 people. And those 3 or 4 people have expressed to them, in public and non-public, our concerns with SAU staff, and they voted over all our heads. And it's happened so many times, so why are we gonna keep going there so what we did was finally, we said, okay, you know what? Coming here isn't doing any good, it's time to put a vote in to withdraw, and that's what we did.
Mhm. And let's see what the
But that doesn't mean in the meantime, I'm gonna approve all this money, because I'm not.
residents,
Do you mind if, I think we didn't
Okay.
close public comment yet, and I think
Oh.
you might have something to say.
Cassandra Hashem, 10 Austin's Way. Coupling what Michelle is saying, and I was gonna say something before, Lacey was there at that meeting, she was representing. Since March 15th, as a taxpayer, I've attended more joint school board meetings than most of the people at that table. I understand some meetings are uncomfortable, I understand there's been different things, I've been part of it, but for you to say, or anybody, not just you specifically, they're not listening, they don't care, why should we bother? Why should I bother? Because I have gotten up here and spoken more times than I can count, and the majority of what I have to say has been ignored by the majority of people at that table. But I'm a taxpayer and I am entitled to my right, and I'm entitled to come up here. And you 5, the whole board, is supposed to represent all of the taxpayers. Not because you're uncomfortable personally, not because you disagree with something, not because you want to withdraw, but because you are representing the entire community. And that is not what's happening. You don't attend a meeting and then you come to this meeting and you're bringing up joint school board matters, which I'm not saying are not important, but this is not the forum for that. And yet, this is now the 2nd week in a row that I have attended and given up my time to be wasted. And I understand what happened last week, Maria, but I have the email from you as an applicant that did not say, don't come in. It said, I look forward to hearing from you.
Yes.
Only nobody heard from me
I sent it
because
to
the meeting
everybody.
started immediately with the motion. And that is what it is, that's not my point, but again, I got a sitter, I came out, I gave up my time to attend something of what I thought, and that's not what occurred. And so, tonight I have a sitter, I'm here giving up my time to talk about Seabrook, and it's a 10-15 minute tangent about joint board matters when the majority of the board was not there. And Lacey did what she felt was okay. I saw that meeting, I thought she did a great job considering all the different avenues and the questions, and then she's being questioned by people who were not there. It is your job to represent the town, the whole town at these meetings. And I understand you have a lot of meetings for different positions, but then advocate to have certain things changed. Advocate to have the dates changed, the times changed, whatever. This is part of your role. And the attendance rate since election, even before election, but even more so since election, has been abysmal from Seabrook. And so I sit there as a taxpayer and I think, I'm not being represented here. I don't feel like I'm being represented at all by the school board, to be honest, but I certainly am not represented in the joint board meeting when Seabrook's not even showing up. And I think that everybody needs to consider that and prioritize that. Everything says majority vote, majority vote, majority vote, but when you only have 2 or 3 board members, that's not majority. Even last week's vote, there was only 3 people here and Michelle abstained. That's not really the majority, that's 2 out of 5 people. And so if you're going to say this and say we are standing by this, the majority feels this, then the majority needs to come to the table and show face and participate in these meetings, all of the meetings. And you need to look at all different avenues, aspects, points of views, talk to consumers, represent the majority consumers.
Okay, thank you. And, a motion to close
I'll
public
make a
comment.
motion to close public comment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You don't need a motion to close,
Huh?
so you just have to say you're closing public comment.
Okay, well, I like to do it so if the board don't agree with me,
Well, the only reason
I'll
why I
take that
brought all this up,
motion.
I brought this up was because out of this whole packet, everything in our school increased but the SAU services. And that's misleading, cause they didn't decrease, they increased.
So, and I'll go back to, and I wanna talk about the joint board, cause I was there on that first meeting. I think all of us were there, actually. And I'm gonna say this, I have never felt so, not a part of something as we did that night. We were basically told, because the Seabrook voters chose to withdraw, that we probably shouldn't hold the chairmanship that night because we're biased. It was really uncomfortable, but we sat there, we took it. Hey, we sit here and we take it.
They chose to
But
do a
I'm gonna
study.
tell you something right now, straight up, there was 12 members that were at that joint board meeting the night you were there. There was not a full house, there was many towns, there never is, and I'm gonna tell you why there never is, because there's what's called a weighted vote. And I'm not sure if the general public knows this or not, but if there is 2 members from Seabrook and 3 members from Hampton, no member or a member from Hampton Falls, they do it so that you're still getting that same amount of vote, whatever that may be. And if everybody's there, you still get that same amount of vote, it's just done by person instead of weighted. So,
But if
it
there's
has
no
been very,
members,
if there's no members,
no
you get
weighted vote.
no
We've never had
weighted
that.
vote at all. But we've always had somebody there since I've been here anyways. And I think that, it's very difficult, and you know what, I can't wait till March, to be honest with you, because this withdrawal thing has really been horrible for this board, and we did not make that choice. The majority of taxpayers out there decided, you know what, we wanna consider this, and I'm gonna listen to that majority of that vote, but I'm gonna listen to the ones that say they don't want to as well. But for me, as a board member, I can tell you, I have never seen such actions in my life over withdrawal, but you know what, at the end of the day, it's not us, we're not gonna decide that, you're not gonna decide that. The people that come out and vote, which I hope there's 5,000 of you, they're gonna decide what Seabrook's gonna do, and we've gotta take it whether we like it or not, either way. And I'm just gonna say that, and then.
Alright, can we have
That's
a
it.
point of order now?
Yeah.
With the budget review,
Yeah.
are we changing anything on the budget? Cause then we have the warrant article, I
Right, I got 'em
feel
all.
like we need to keep to,
So anything on the budget, or is everybody good?
I'm not good. So if you want me to make a motion, you can either second me or not second, but I'm not gonna let taxpayers think. I mean, as it is, I resigned, and I shouldn't have because of the stuff that I've found since then, which I'm still waiting for the state to send me information. But I am not okay with this budget. This budget, we just made the last payment this year of $144,000 on a bond that we were told is gonna decrease our budget, yet that $144,000 has already been used. It was used quicker than it was paid off. It doesn't even show that it's paid off because it's already been used. The budget is higher than it was last year with a $144,000 bond paid off. Plus, we have EA positions that were not filled. And, you know, as many times as I've heard Matt say in the last 2 meetings that the Seabrook School Board could do this, they could do that, and blame us, I'm sorry, like, if they're gonna blame us, then guess what, down the road when people complain, I hope everyone's ready to say it was the Seabrook School Board's fault because they were told right in the meeting they could do that. I do wanna confirm one thing though. The parent square, did the PTO at Seabrook pay for the whole district to have that, meaning all the schools?
No.
Did the other schools pay their own?
We only paid Seabrook's portion.
That's all we asked for.
Is that what you said? Because, I'm just asking because a couple of schools have told me they didn't pay a dime.
So the PTO paid for
Yeah.
a portion of the
Parent square.
parent square for Seabrook,
Right, so the other schools did pay for their own?
of course.
Okay, I'm just asking because they're saying that they didn't, they were told it was free, that's what people are saying, that's why I'm asking you.
It was not free.
Okay, good to know.
So at this point, is there anybody that has a concern of a line? I'm gonna tell you straight up, and I'm gonna say what I just said. At the end of the day, we're asking the taxpayers to accept the budget at almost a 5% increase. And the budget's done, and when it goes out, I voted, go ahead, let it go out. Whether it gets voted in or not will remain to be seen, but I can tell you one thing, everybody else has been cutting the line and towing the line. And we asked for it, it's out there, the voters again are gonna decide in March. So if we go back to default budget, because they feel like we're asking for too much, that's where we gotta go and we gotta live with it. If they give us the budget, guess what? We'll move on. Either way, we'll live with it. So I just, the whole budget thing, yeah, there's a
The school
lot.
board, yeah,
But like, what percent of it is contractual? Like, I know that, like, when I do my budget for my office, it's, you know, most of it's just contractual that it went up 3%.
Right.
Can you,
I mean, a good portion is contractual, I mean,
I
especially.
mean, you got health insurance,
no, what's the percentage it's not?
Yeah, what's the good portion mean? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't asked to calculate that, so I don't have the percentage,
But
but
you right?
I can certainly do that. I'll tell you that, I mean, special education alone, which is legally mandated, went up $440,000.
Cause
And you
that was
can't
the
predict
program that we
And
added,
that's-
right?
I'm sorry?
That program that we added is
Yeah.
200,000, was that correct in that?
But that was approved for 1 year, so why would that be in the budget without another approval?
No, but when we
We're
approved, was
budgeting
that
for it for this
400,000
next year.
part of that program?
So that was budgeted for, but
yeah, see that.
keep in mind, if we did not budget for that, there'd be a larger budget,
Maybe,
what we would be budgeting for our district placements if that were not
Maybe.
the case.
Well, we just paid for a district placement to go out for 100,000 to another school, right?
Yep, there are other students that don't qualify for that program that are also potentially our district placements as well. Not all of our students can be serviced by that program.
so we can revisit, even after the vote, whichever way it goes, we may have to revisit things like we had to.
I'll just really quickly, I just wanna
Yeah.
chime in that program has been a highlight
Yeah,
at SES and it's something we really needed and I can just say confidently that those students are getting what they need and it's amazing. Come
Are
see
you
it.
guys fully
You're welcome.
staffed?
It's fully staffed at the NEC program? Yes.
So you are fully staffed now?
Yep.
Okay, so any EAs that need to come in would not have to go, we're good there?
Yeah, I don't know if when that was communicated, but I think overall, yeah, they're staffed, they're
Okay.
good, and it's a great program.
Alright,
And
so
yeah,
they're staffed, we're
yeah,
good.
good. Which brings up another point, if we could, the EAs, and I brought this up, and I'm not sure if we need to add other to have a motion, but I would like, to make a motion, cause I have heard from my principal in Seabrook Middle School at a meeting, that she, at the town hall, that she has one EA, and I don't wanna get this wrong, Colleen, help me if you can, in the 7th grade, and you would love more.
I mean, we would always look more, we're actively looking for more EAs.
So I
We're
think
posted
the-
to it
But there's
for it.
4 open
Right, but
spots.
I think if we advertise it differently, because we keep getting feedback in-house and out that people are coming and they're applying, and we've talked about this, but they're not being hired because they
Because they're
don't
not
want to go into a
qualified.
certain program.
They're not qualified.
Okay,
If
So-
they take a test, they don't pass the test, they're not qualified.
Yeah.
So, alright, so I have a question about that. So I won't name any names, but I have a good friend of mine who started here. She had no qualifications, no education. She had a recommendation letter and she had a certain amount of time to get her EA certification. They paid for it, she took the test. And she literally did a different profession, not even close to children. So what is the difference between then and now?
I can't speak to them, to be honest.
Meredith?
I can't either, I don't have a date or time frame that you're referencing, so it's hard for
It
me to
doesn't matter,
respond.
there's people that have been hired in the last year that
Well,
have
there's-
no experience that have been hired.
You can be hired without experience, the
Yeah.
issue is whether or not you meet the Title I qualifications,
Yeah.
because we are a school-wide Title I school for Title I at SES. And that means you have to either have an associate's degree, or I believe 48 college credit hours, or a bachelor's degree, or you have to have passed the praxis.
For middle school too?
No, middle
We
school
are-
is not Title One.
It is not Title I school-wide, but because we often move people between the schools, we have held to that criteria for this year because we've seen more sharing of those positions.
Well, but if, the thing is if we are in need in the middle school for EAs and we have none, it would be better to hire them in the middle school without needing those qualifications because it's not Title I, than just saying no altogether because you wouldn't be able to move them to the elementary, because clearly, if they're needed in the middle school, then they wouldn't need to move because we have none in the middle school.
We are prioritizing hiring based on the greatest need.
Right.
And whether that's
That would
Well,
be
if
Seabrook
we need a
Middle School.
BCBA for $115,000 and we have a zone room in the elementary school that's staffed and we have one EA in the middle, I think that pretty much says
We
that
have
we.
one EA at seventh grade.
Would you like more EAs in your middle school?
I mean, Maria, who's gonna say no to having more
No, I'm
staff?
serious, so then what I'm saying is we as a school board have a right to ask for adjustment in the language and then take on, okay, who do you have? You can come back and talk to us and say, you know what? We have this person that's done this for 10 years, but they might not be at that level. We just excused qualification to bring an EA in, I thought, to the NET program.
We
Did we
don't
not
have-
do that?
Our elementary
Not that I'm
school
aware
EAs
of.
do not even go to the middle school. They're all in the elementary school.
Yeah, well, they
Because a couple
probably
of them
can't,
asked
so
to go to the
booked
middle and
up.
they don't want to. They don't share them in between.
So is there a problem with changing up that advertisement, freshen it up a little bit and say, you know, we have a great need in our Seabrook Middle School at this time for EAs, and I believe, you know, can that hurt? By kind of focusing and changing it, it's been the same forever, and I think it's up to $21, almost $22 that they're offering per hour on one of them.
You have no general ed EA positions that are.
I'm not
vacant.
talking
They're
about
only for
general ed,
special
though.
education.
We have no classes without special education and general ed, I hope. We have a mix of kids in every class, I would hope.
We're
so
looking
that
for a
we could
special ed
utilize-
EA, we have no general ed openings.
Huh?
We're looking for a special ed EA in grade 7.
Okay,
And the sped director is actively interviewing people.
okay,
We have had conversations, Tim and I and her, in terms of moving people.
yeah,
It's just like the case managers. If you're hired as a case manager, doesn't necessarily mean because you're in 6th grade this year, means that,
Yeah.
you know, you're not able to be moved among both schools. We've had a lot of conversations about that.
okay,
Is it harder to come to middle school? Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Not-
oh, I know,
But you just don't hire anybody. You hire somebody that's
Right,
qualified, and
exactly.
works with. So it's easy for us to say, let's just hire these people, but it takes a special kind of person to work with a 5-year-old versus a 12-year-old.
right,
And if you want the best people to hire, then, you know, due diligence, you gotta make sure that they meet the requirements of what it means to work
So-
with adolescent kids versus younger kids.
right, so we can just go on and do what we've been doing since March with those EAs that have not been filled and not change it up at all. Or we can change it up and focus a little, maybe our next meeting we can discuss it further if you haven't filled the positions by then, just to try to help
Yeah, I
get
think
those filled.
it'd be great to have Christian here as part of that conversation, and I
Yeah.
think she could give us an update,
Yeah,
help clarify.
and how we can help, if we can help, so, alright, so the budget will remain, right now and go to the voters, as it is. Matt will update the board with what percentage of that is, contractual. And I guess at this point, we'll move on to the articles, which, if you don't mind, I'll start out with, the articles. So the articles, and always since I've been a board member, we have had to send our articles to our, attorney for review. They may be perfect and not need anything, but that's just been the way it's done. So last year, I think Bob Casassa was the one, and he attended the deliberative session as well, so that if articles needed to be changed, he was there to say yay or nay. So our attorney has reviewed the articles and found them all to be right where they need to be, except for the withdrawal article. She changed the verbiage just a little bit on that, so it's not, it's more explanatory to the people. And not,
Email that to us?
yeah, I did,
Okay.
or she did.
Marie, do you have that
That
too?
for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
you have
cause
that
I
ready
don't,
for
I
the
don't, it's not
minutes?
final yet, I need the board to look at that and see if they agree to it and not me. It's the board decision, I'm just bringing it,
Typically, those drafts would be included in the minutes so that people have access to them.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I have
Please and
mine.
thank you.
you have a copy of it, Michelle, do
Yeah.
you wanna read it? Do you mind
Yeah.
for the record? Thank you.
So this is the one that was created by our lawyer.
Yes, more.
A planning committee was formed in 2024 to conduct an analysis of the educational and fiscal benefit of the Seabrook School District withdrawing from the School Administrative Unit, SAU 21. By majority vote, 4-3, the committee did not recommend that the Seabrook School District withdraw from SAU 21. Vote yes if you agree with the committee's recommendation. Vote no if you do not agree with the committee's recommendation and would like to create a new planning committee.
She changed some of the verbiage, cause she had fielded it, and she was coming back with people that would say yes, but wanted no, and you cannot decept the taxpayer in any way. Because if you do that, you're causing yourself another election, a big cost, if somebody says that was not, we didn't understand it that way. I don't know what the percentage of voters are that have to come forward, but that is the language. She simplified it. The only other thing, and I don't know if the board had this or not last year with the withdrawal thing, but it's no impact on the tax rate. She said we might want to add that to that, so has no impact either way,
Yeah.
whether it's yes or no.
There really weren't that many changes, it just took out per warrant article 6. And then the SAU warrant article that they presented is a yes vote indicates agreement with the committee's recommendation not to withdraw.
The title was misleading, that's why, like if you had the title up top,
But then on ours, it says vote yes if you agree with the committee's recommendation.
Yeah.
right, but the title up top, it said,
Recommendation not to withdraw from SAU 21, and she said
Withdrawal
you probably.
recommendation.
no,
Yeah.
the original one, way back, the one that I brought down, I think I brought it
Well, this
down.
is the one I have, they just printed, withdraw, it says withdrawal recommendation for SAU
Oh, you're,
SAU.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's the original, so if you, say that again,
Yes.
can you read that again?
So,
No,
The-
the top line,
withdrawal, Article 7,
Yep.
withdrawal recommendation for SAU number 21.
right,
But
so.
she doesn't even list one on this one.
I
Yeah.
know, so because, I think it's because the way the title would be, so if you look at the title that you just read to me,
Yeah,
anybody who wants to withdraw, they're gonna say yes, without reading it. Now, God knows, we're all supposed to read them, but I don't know about you guys, but I can tell you how many people go in there and they have a cheat sheet and they don't read it. So if you were to read the title and you wanna withdraw, you're gonna hit yes. You're gonna say yes, and then, right, but down below, yes means that you recommend not to. Not hers, theirs.
Yeah. So it's just a wordage thing, do we?
Yeah, vote no if you do not agree with the committee's recommendation and would like to create a new planning committee.
Yes.
That's hers, right?
That's the attorney's.
Yes.
But the original one,
Was a no vote represents a vote to create a new planning committee,
right, but the title, if you read the title,
which is withdrawal recommendation for SAU 21.
someone's gonna check off yes if they want to.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying.
And yes means no.
So we need to change
They
that
have titles.
title, that's something we can
They
do.
don't. I
So
don't think
how to
articles have
simplify it,
titles.
withdraw it.
I don't believe any articles have titles.
That one you
I
gave
know,
us
I
does.
don't know why they have titles unless Matt just did it for
Somebody might
an
have just titled it
FYI.
up.
The one you gave
Cause
us
she said
does.
you don't need a title,
Or just-
and that was
Right, so it's
confusing
probably
on
just for
any of
us
them.
with the
Yes.
titles?
Yeah,
They-
probably.
that's
Yeah.
No,
what I'm
Matt
saying.
put it on, but
No,
our
the withdrawal
attorney took
committee
them
did.
off. Oh, the withdrawal committee.
Well,
Okay.
there's no title, so.
No, and no titles on any of them, because that can be misleading when you read that, and we don't wanna mislead, even if it was the budget.
Well, I don't think they normally have
No,
titles anyway.
and I don't
It was
know.
just for us.
FYI.
Submitted to us.
Cause when she saw that, she said, why do they have titles? And I thought it was just because if we want titles, we can, if we don't, we don't.
Yeah, I
Matt
think,
provided
I
them.
actually,
Like-
if I could,
No, Laura, right now, public comment shut down. Can we let Matt speak? If the board votes, we can have you come up. Go ahead, Matt.
yeah, I think, as I recall, that first draft I sent you,
Yeah.
I believe that title was, it wasn't a great title. I kind of agree with you there, but, so what did it say that you were suggesting?
The one I printed, it says Article 7 withdrawal recommendation for SAU number 21.
Cause it does have to say something.
So-
No, but this was
Heading.
just,
Yeah,
You
but you don't put the titles on it
No.
anyways,
Those
so,
are for us.
correct?
I think they do.
well, it has to have
Yeah,
some,
it does
it
have,
has to have a
a
heading.
description, it's not a title, it
Yeah,
has
it
a.
has
That's
in the article,
So it'll so the title,
Yeah, I don't
the
think
title that I would
so.
suggest that it be is recommendation not to withdraw from SCU 21, that makes the most sense.
No, makes sense to leave the titles off, you have the numbers.
I make a motion to
and
accept
read
our
it.
lawyer's verbiage for the warrant article.
Okay, and take off the titles.
here, I'll give it to you.
So
Second,
just
all
say
in favor?
Article 7,
Aye.
School board, legal
Yeah.
counsel.
Recommend.
It's all basically the same thing.
It just says article, it doesn't have title.
Yeah, and that's all they're gonna have is articles
I'll
with the
scan
numbers.
Okay, I'll scan that too.
None of those descriptive things, cause people may not read beyond that. Alright, so all in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Let me see. Who made the second?
I did.
First and second. Okay. Alright, and then I just wanted to share a little bit, if I could, on the number of articles, because we have to have a certain percentage in the budget increase, and we know that. There's contractual, we'll know how much, Matt will get back to us, we know that, but what has been brought to my attention, and by many, is why are we having so many things on? If we want our budget to pass, right, we want that first and foremost, why can't we tail it down a little bit? And I kinda talked about that a few times, but I kinda said, well, 7, not so bad, but then if you look at it, it is, I agree. Is there anything we can do? So what I am asking, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, I know that Peter needs vehicles, but I also know that, he needs a full-time secretary. I mean, his department has a part-time person that's been more than helpful to all the departments, including the other offices, and she's part-time, no benefits. I know there's a need there, he didn't ask for it, or he did, and maybe it didn't get to us, I don't know, cause we didn't get that, but the thing that I feel strongly about is if we tailor down these articles, the Sacred Heart one, we cannot touch. The withdrawal one is no impact to the taxpayers, and that needs to be put on there too, Lacey, did we say that?
Yep, that's part of it.
Okay. And, Sacred Heart, no choice, it's a citizen's petition. I am asking the board to consider, because we're at almost 400,000, we're leaning toward that end, which is our peak, highest amount that we like to be at. We're at 380 or 70, is it, Matt? I've said that and I forget it every time, but it's up there. Can we, just for this cycle, take that off? Because we have never know, but we have a good chunk in there right now. The building, we have just done so much, we've got the boilers and all that emergency stuff finished. Can we take that off there, just for this year? And we've done this before as a board, we've had to do it because we needed to cycle down. The vehicles, I question whether or not, if something's really bad, can we do a lease, but I think Lacey said they were really, really bad.
Yeah, can I just,
Yes.
I'm just a little frustrated because we spent 2 meetings going over this budget and these warrant articles. We canceled the meeting that was scheduled
for the third.
because we didn't need it for the budget, and then 3 weeks later, now we're revisiting this again. And I understand things come up later, cause it happens to me all the time where it's like, oh, I wish I caught that, I wish I asked that question. I totally get it, but it's just really frustrating, because we spent so much time putting into going over the budget and making these warrant articles, and if people don't wanna vote for the warrant articles, that's fine. I think I've seen 6 or 7 warrant articles in the school before,
Right.
with teachers' contracts and roof, and I think last year we had 6.
Yep.
So I don't think the extra article is gonna tip us over, that's just my opinion. I mean, Peter needs those vehicles,
Well,
we
Peter
need
needed an extra secretary too, and he was told.
but that wasn't brought to our
No.
attention, cause
But it wasn't because, I just wanna say this, it was brought to the principal's attention, the principals, did you guys approve it, cause I heard you guys approved it. The SAU was the one that said no, but the staff was told that the board said no. So did the principals approve the secretary?
We talked about the budget and we cut what we thought was a reasonable amount from every single department so the taxpayers would not be burdened,
Alright, so you guys did not approve the secretary, you guys said no.
We were asked every department,
Yeah.
what can you give up? Can you give up a truck, a tractor, a half a secretary, a whole secretary? Part of your, technology budget, we all had to shave.
Okay, so you did not approve the
So-
secretary?
So yeah, so
I'm
with
not
the,
saying that, Kelly, I'm saying we
No, because you
all
didn't.
had to shave.
so
She was
we,
promised a
if you
position 3
look,
years in a row.
I don't know anything about last year or the year before.
Okay,
I can't
so
speak to
I'm
that
not,
either.
I'm not gonna speak to that.
I can't speak to that either, I don't
Yeah.
know
So-
what
I
was
mean, there's
promised
a
to her,
wish
but-
list,
Yeah.
obviously,
The SAU cut it.
and we included all that information as to what was brought forth, and then we had a discussion as a team as to what do we need to prioritize and where can we make reductions, so, I mean, if we didn't make reductions, I think as I shared with you, that would have been a $1.5 million increase, so, that wouldn't pass, right, so we had to make reductions where we felt were the least impactful, to give the budget the best opportunity to pass, so
So I think I
there are
just,
many areas where.
what I
we
wanna
make
say for
reductions.
myself is, when they say that the school board is the one who does the budget, I wanna make it clear right now, that myself being on the school board, I wasn't here, but even if I was, the school board does not make the budget.
Well,
You guys recommend the budget, we approve it or deny it, but if we wanna take something off, it becomes a hassle. And then when we go into a default budget, we're gonna have people sit up there and say, you guys are the fault reason that we went into
Well,
a default budget. So
it's-
just be prepared,
so we make a
that
recommendation.
we're gonna, I'm gonna defend
And,
myself.
and the board
Yeah.
has full discretion to reduce or increase any piece of that budget,
Okay, so then I make a motion,
so
we
you
get rid of
can-
the
you can-
BCBA,
you
because
can
I
add-
don't think we need
you
it.
can, so that's,
on the budget of the,
Warrant article, because I really feel like, as
Two-
being a board member for 5 years, every time the budget came in front of us, and we tried to make cuts, or we recommended things, we were made to look like we weren't in the best interest of the students.
Well,
So
why take out the
two-
warrant article, why not just leave it there and let people not vote for it?
they voted
Right.
no last year for
Except for
something
a
very
social worker.
similar.
The John Deere is 19 years old.
Yes,
The
Yeah.
Ford is a 2010, the Kubota is a 2013. Maintenance and equipment, you're gonna spend more on maintenance and
Yeah.
equipment on, and,
Yeah.
and what if it blows a motor?
no, it's bad,
Then you're,
it's bad.
and if they need that to use on the fields and the driveways, and
You
I say
can
we
see it's
keep it as a
bad.
warrant article, and if the people don't wanna vote it, they won't.
Okay. So I was looking at the building and the special education article, and I think we have I'm never gonna say enough, cause we never have enough, but we have a good amount that I think we could take that off so that we look like we're trying to not ask for everything. And I agree to the behavioral health, and I did vote on that with the board, I think there was 3 of us. The reason that I brought that tonight is because the budget committee, Matt, said on more than one occasion that that position will probably be utilized for the elementary and the middle school. I did not know that. I thought that position was going to be just for a zone program for the middle school behavioral.
No, we did not say that, we
And-
said it would be a shared position.
I did not know that,
It's
so
in
I'm
those,
sorry I missed
it's
that.
in both the budget worksheets and
Yeah,
the
well, I
We
caught
said
it, I wasn't saying
and I
it.
verbally.
And I was worried about the educational piece, that it's included, I heard the selectmen say, well, what part of this is going to also encompass? So
Neutral hybrid.
yeah, so that is what raised my concern with it, and people reaching out saying, why are you asking us for that again when you asked last year and we told you no, and I said, it's not the same position.
It's
That's
not
the
the
one we
same
cut, 'cause we were told we didn't
That's
need it.
why, and so we took it out and then we put it on here because it was at over 5% for an increase in the budget.
Right, and I to keep our budget low so that people would actually vote for it this year, I said that we should take it out and put it as a warrant article. That way that people still have the option if that's what they want, because we've been saying over and over again, the behaviors in the school are out of control. You know, and I'm not saying that they are, but that has been said many, many times, and that we need to do something for the behaviors, especially, in the middle school. And so this was kind of the tool to fix that problem.
With the Reese was wrong,
With the wrong,
No.
which we were
did not
told
say
no.
wrong.
so that's a different
So,
scenario, cause I
but-
thought it was.
But
for the
that's,
wrong.
that was the meaning behind that, is that we take that out because it was like $130,000 that we could take out of the budget and make the budget smaller so that more people would vote for our budget, so that we were not in a default budget anymore. That was the reasoning behind me asking for it to be put as a warrant article instead of rolled into the budget.
And that makes sense, but I wasn't aware of a $144 bond that was
Can I-
paid off this year.
Yeah.
Ask Matt a question, or anyway, you had said when you reviewed the budget that you took out things that you didn't need, and what was that number again?
The original proposal was, there's about a $1.5 million increase,
What does
which,
that include, you know?
and we included a spreadsheet that you had requested that
Yeah.
showed every account.
Yeah, it was the same departments that were cut last year. They
It was
lost the
A wish list
facilities.
for all
Well,
departments.
no, we got the amount that they requested, but there was actually not, they provided
Right.
a list of things they wanted.
We
but
approved the
didn't
warrant
decide.
article, are we done, or?
I'd like to make a motion, to remove 2, 4, and 5 to give the taxpayers, the, straight message that we want our budget to pass.
So what
And
is,
that's
do you have 2, 4, and 5?
2 is the behavioral, 4 is the, special education, and the building is 5, because I think we've done a lot this year, and I think so when they look at it, here we are, we're trying, because I really don't think we should have any full-time positions added this year. That's my opinion, and I think everybody else in the town side is kind of doing the same thing, and we want the budget to pass overall of anything, we want that to pass, so that's a motion, and I'm looking for a second, we can have conversation. And we can have conversation if anybody has any more to say, or ideas.
I say just
I'd say no.
I say
keep it in
no.
like it is,
I'm
because.
gonna do a roll call vote, please.
Yeah.
So they're approving yet, they're having discussion.
Yeah, I didn't know if anybody had anything to say, more to add to it, that's all.
I'm sorry, but I don't see the problem with putting it on the ballot for people to vote on. That's where I'm a little lost here, it's like, I get what you're saying, you don't think we need that, which is, fair, that's your opinion and everything, but why not just leave it there to have people vote, to decide if they want that or not? Like, that's the part that I'm missing, is taking that
Me too.
off. We looked this over for 3 weeks and we came up with this, and I don't see why it should be taken off. I think, if the voters vote no on everything, then they vote no, and it's a clear message that they don't wanna spend any money, but I think we should allow them to vote on it.
And like you said, hopefully there's 5,000 voters like we had at the polls recently.
That's just my opinion, is that why not leave it up to the voters to vote on it, to tell us if they want it or not. I don't see the harm in it.
Okay, anybody else? And then we can shoot, you
Now
wanna
we
do a
vote.
roll call vote, is that what you want?
I would prefer yes,
Okay.
I know. Lacey?
No.
Kelly?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Jen?
No.
And Michelle?
No.
Okay.
So the new position that we voted in for the IT, I didn't see anything,
Thank
in the other
Yeah.
meetings that they voted on that. The Southampton position for the IT person. Did they agree to that?
So it's actually two, separate, positions.
So they can't do it
We had originally thought that, it would have to be shared, but it's essentially the individual being hired at Southampton and then for a part-time position and then at Seabrook as a part-time position, so it's just a straight hire.
So they can't get insurance because of that, correct?
No,
Right.
Oh, wow.
So that funding that we put aside for that position that was accepted, how much was that funding?
well, we
That would've
didn't
been
set
out of this year.
aside, there wasn't any funding budgeted.
No, you guys voted on, they accepted the position with including,
That would have been out of this year's budget,
Yeah.
and that would have been from the savings of having that position unfilled for the first 4 months of the school year, but in the end, we have not
And we
filled that
weren't,
position
and we weren't
accordingly.
expecting, well, that individual to opt in to health insurance.
so that position's still not filled?
I've received a
No,
nomination.
it's
He
filled.
started today.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, you asked that.
yeah, that's
When we
right.
first came in.
And he, so they're not getting benefits, they're just another part-time
Part-time.
person.
That's-
Two separate so that Seabrook's not locked into, Southampton and
So
Southampton's
it's
not
really
locked into
completely
Seabrook.
separate.
We're separate, that's probably a good thing, just in case with the situation we're in, so.
So I knew they couldn't do benefits at two different places.
Okay, I did not know that. So I think if I go back to the agenda, unless anybody has anything else, I will need to ask, one of you two. If we need, we have two little non-public things here that need to be, yay or nay or whatever it needs to be happening with it, that we can't talk about in public.
We don't have a non-public on there.
Right, you don't have to necessarily have it on, we can vote to just have it, put it on and go into non-public for those two things. If you don't want to, you don't want to, but it's two pretty, I mean, I'm not gonna make a decision and I think you guys need to be on board with that.
I make a motion to go to non-public.
Can you tell us what it falls under? Do we know?
Yeah, see,
And I'm sorry, can I just wanna make sure I'm crystal clear with the warrant article, so for the withdrawal article, I'm doing no heading. I just wanna make sure I'm doing it correctly, no heading.
And we're not paying
Okay,
SAS,
I just wanna make sure.
and we're not paying
Lacey.
SAS either
Yeah.
because we need
can't
to
she
cut our
sit right
attorney.
here on this one?
No,
This, you don't
I was just
wanna
gonna
sit
see
on.
if Casey didn't mind.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't want her to be alone.
She wants to speak,
Yeah.
come on, Casey.
And we will not, and I'm, just wanna confirm, we will not be inviting Attorney Casassa to attend the deliberative
No, our
union
attorney will be
legal
coming.
counsel. Okay, I just wanna make sure that,
Yeah, and just so you know, Matt, too, I feel badly that somebody's run up a cost with him, because the board voted not to use, the attorney anymore, and we have our own, so we shouldn't have to double pay. We have an attorney, and he gave an opinion, I guess, so we gotta pay double, which shouldn't
Well,
have
is he
happened.
SAU's attorney?
Is he your attorney for SAU?
well, we can use him, I mean, so I was under the impression that
Shouldn't be.
we are now, I know previously, we needed permission from the board to seek legal counsel, but then that was changed where the board allowed us to seek legal counsel. Is that accurate?
No, there was several emails, that went out, letting you know that our attorney would be, reviewing the warrant articles, and this board took a vote not to use a certain specific attorney anymore, and we hired a new one. So you going back to
For
him
your matters, I
was
mean,
not agreeable with, not me anyways, we voted not to. Unless we wanna change that, we can, and go back to our other attorney.
No.
I wasn't here, so when you
Yeah.
voted.
Well, we
Yeah.
need, I mean, the SA, I mean, the district needs
As
to seek
business.
legal counsel
Right,
for
right.
normal business. So are you
Right.
saying, so are you suggesting we can't utilize Attorney Casas for normal business?
For Seabrook business, you absolutely can for your business.
That's what I'm
But
saying, Seabrook.
our warrant articles are Seabrook, they're not anybody else's.
So we need to find another attorney for normal business, Seabrook business.
Well, we have an attorney we have two different firms that we could use actually, Matt. So, that's up to the board.
Who can we use, I guess I'm asking.
Well, we used Maureen Hyman.
So so you're suggesting we reach out to Maureen?
So can he reach out to Maureen when he has questions about our secret?
So we have
Yeah,
Maureen-
because she'll share information with us. The concern was
I think-
before, there was information between the SAU and the other attorney we had, and we had no idea. We had charges on there we paid for, and we got the invoice and it didn't have a description until we 91A'd the description. We assumed we were paying for things that we would have agreed to because we trusted the situation. But when we got the invoice and it showed things that we had no idea about, that's when we realized, you know what, this isn't working.
We have other attorneys.
Maureen's not gonna do that to us.
Like for special
But
education.
he just wants to clarify.
As long as we're CC'd on it and we know about it and the board's made aware,
I think that's a good
Can't
idea.
CC you on all matters, so
Right.
so we're back to
There's
that
nothing that you
question.
should
well,
know
we'll
about attorney
discuss
share.
it at the next meeting in January. For right now,
But that's not to say that there aren't things that are gonna come up between
Right.
now and then. We had a specific
Right, and
conversation
I'm
about
not doing another emergency meeting.
no, we shouldn't meet until whenever it is in January, to be honest, but. So, with that said, we do share an attorney for special education, which is outside of ours. And I think as long as somebody is knowing, we should know when the SAU's checking with our attorney on things, and we should know about it some way, somehow, because there's so many times we did not know, or there was double checking, just like with the warrant articles. One person checked the warrant article, our attorney checked the warrant article, so we're gonna have to pay twice now.
We should know when somebody else is giving legal advice from our attorney and gonna change a warrant article that we
Yeah.
have.
I mean, the board doesn't have,
And emergencies come up that we
it's
cannot.
standard operating
obviously.
procedure for
Right,
the SAU to have legal review of the warrant articles. I had no idea until you told me, but that was already after I
Bob
had
never
sent.
did that for you, cause I was under the understanding.
No,
that
Bob
it
always
is.
has done it for us,
That's right.
but the board has never
That's
gone
not
out and
such
sought to have
The
warrant
board
article.
switched their attorneys, Matt, quite some time ago.
But the board has never.
Alright, let's move back
But that
into
wasn't what he's
non-public.
saying.
the- But, alright, so
Well, you can make
I-
a motion, Jen, to
what?
if we wanted
Say
to let them pick the attorney and
I don't have any
whatever.
problem with them
Cause I don't know if
I just want
want to use our
clarity, so
attorney or
I should
not.
reach out to
I mean,
Drummond or Woodsum
Seabrook
or
They
Maureen
just-
Higham
Yeah,
for any legal or not me, the SAU,
Right.
legal counsel, and we can
think we-
do that, we just need to notify you when we reach out to them. Is that what you're saying?
Is that what you're saying, Maria?
are you, cause I'm
Not-
staying right out of this.
I-
You're the one who has the opinion.
I'm sorry, I do have a problem with an attorney that was in a room where we were legally recorded and he did not protect our rights.
Okay, so just tell Matt what you want, what
fine.
are you looking for?
Have Maureen get in touch with you and say that if you have anything you need to talk to her about, that you guys can talk about it. But if she's our attorney, we have a right to know what we're being billed for. I mean, just,
And
So
you
reach out and let her.
receive invoices every
Right,
time
and
we,
she,
right, but the invoices, Matt,
why can't we see, be
I don't
CC'd
wanna
on
go
the
into depth here.
invoices?
please do so.
I will.
Okay.
Someone from our withdrawal committee contacted last year, used our attorney to change a warrant article that we made language for without our knowledge.
That is not true.
Matt, I
Alright,
have
can
the
we go into
invoice.
non-public, because
I
we're
have
not,
the invoice.
this wasn't
Okay.
even on the agenda.
And I,
No, but don't say stuff if you don't.
So can we
I
get a
made a
motion to
motion.
go into
Yeah.
non-public?
that I gave you, I gave you the
I'll
invoice.
second it.
Do we have
We
a
never knew
roll
we
call?
paid it until a year later.
Yes.
Okay, we're going
I
into
don't know, that's a
non-public.
good question, Maria, what are we going under?
C.
RSA
Sorry, I thought I said
91A
that.
C 3:2C, thank you, Maria.
At 6:05. Who's making
Come on in
the motion?
now.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Who's making the motion to resume?
Maria,
And Michelle.
Maria.
and I'll second it.
Okay.
And Michelle will. Alright, Lacey,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Maria, we're going to
Yes.
anyways, Jen.
Yes.
And Michelle.
Michelle.
Did you say yes?
Oh, yeah.
Motion to.
I just fell asleep for a minute with my eyes open.
Now you can make the motion to adjourn the
Motion to
meeting
adjourn.
at 6:24 PM. Who's making the
Lacey.
motion?
Oh, hit it, Jen.
Jen,
Oh,
who's
yeah, I'll
that
make a
second?
motion. She loves that stuff.
Lacey, who's second?
Lacey.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Michelle, all in favor.
Oh.
Mark unanimous.